For a long time, the law of attraction felt like a magic trick to me, something that worked successfully for some, but for me, it just didn't materialize. I'd visualize, repeat affirmations, cultivate the feeling, and patiently wait for the universe to act. Yet, the manifestations I longed for never came to fruition. A persistent question haunted my mind: why did this dynamic benefit others but not me? What was the missing link? The reality that struck me was this: I was profoundly mistaken, and this realization almost led me to give up entirely. My self-perception was fragile, and my mental paradigm, that intrinsic background programming, held me back without me even noticing its influence. I saw myself as someone devoid of grand aspirations, without a promising horizon, confined to trivial, insubstantial occupations, with nothing solid to hold on to. Deep down, I didn't believe I was worthy of anything greater, of a fuller existence. This limiting belief was the true invisible barrier, a veil that distorted my attempts to attract what I desired. My upbringing was marked by a profound lack of self-worth. I dropped out of school right after completing 8th grade, and to make matters worse, I suffered a thumb injury, an seemingly trivial incident, but one that had the power to crush any young person's hopes. For me, it marked the end of any future prospects I might have had. From then on, I plunged into a series of purposeless occupations. I worked in factories, at gas stations, performing tasks like changing tires, lubricating vehicles, and changing oil. My stance was to literally accept any opportunity that came along, driven by the limiting conviction that a different, more meaningful path was simply unattainable for me. This cycle of conformity seemed endless, daily reinforcing the belief that my destiny was to live on the sidelines of great achievements. However, during one of the darkest and most disheartening phases of my existence, transformation began. While performing my duties at the Toronto Fire Department, a teammate gifted me a book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Reading that volume ignited a sense of awakening within me, as if a spark of life and possibility had been kindled. It was the first time I allowed myself to ponder, what if I were capable of achieving something truly great with my life? This book wasn't just a read, it initiated a process of profound mental restructuring. That self-image of mine, which until then had been small and restricted, gradually began to expand, opening up to a universe of new possibilities and self-confidence I had never imagined. It's crucial to understand that this wasn't a magic trick, nor a simple exercise in optimistic thinking or mere visualizations. What truly happened was a profound and impactful realization: my identity, that is, the concept I held of who I truly was, acted as an relentless internal saboteur. I recognized the urgent need to transform this self-perception, radically and intrinsically. This discernment, without a doubt, marked the true turning point in my journey. Now, reflect with me, if you've ever delved into the principles of the law of attraction and, to your frustration, felt that it didn't work, that you simply couldn't manifest your deepest desires, it's highly probable that the barrier doesn't lie within the law itself, in its efficacy, but rather in your self-image, in how you perceive yourself. This is a fundamental revelation. Have you ever experienced that feeling? The one where, no matter how intensely you yearn and dream, a silent yet persistent internal voice whispers, "I am not worthy." Or perhaps, when you articulate your goals and aspirations, in the deepest recesses of your soul, you secretly believe such achievements are too grand, unattainable for someone like you. These are clear manifestations of a limiting paradigm, of a self-image that restricts your manifestation potential, creating a mismatch between what the conscious mind desires and what the subconscious mind accepts as its reality. Let me share a sentence that radically transformed the course of my existence, and has the potential to revolutionize yours too. What truly limits your journey isn't your desires and aspirations, no matter how grand they are, but rather the person you believe yourself to be. This is a powerful axiom. The fabric of your future reality is, indeed, woven and conceived from the mental image you project and sustain of yourself in the present moment. How you perceive yourself internally today is the silent architect of your tomorrow, shaping every opportunity and every challenge that will arise on your path. Initially, the fruits of my efforts were modest, not to say almost non-existent. I strove to visualize a dream home, financial stability, a life of complete freedom, yet, my paradigm, that persistent, limiting voice resonating deep within me, had a much stronger, more deeply rooted resonance, an ancient authority that asserted itself, and it constantly echoed, "You are incapable of achieving this. The hardest lesson I assimilated was that, to attract and materialize something of great value and magnitude in your external life, it's absolutely imperative to build a corresponding greatness in your inner world. External transformation is always a mirror of internal evolution. It's not just about wanting, but about being star. Therefore, if you find yourself at this moment, dedicating your attention to these words, I vehemently wish for you to understand something fundamental. You are not alone on this journey. Countless individuals share the exact same position and dilemmas as you. The true key to success, the deepest secret, doesn't merely lie in visualization exercises or a superficial, fleeting belief. It lies in the courage and determination to rewrite the narrative of your own identity, to radically metamorphose your self-image, and to reconstruct, piece by piece, your mental paradigm. In the upcoming sections of this content, my objective is to elucidate what I myself uncovered throughout my journey, to detail the methods I employed to recalibrate my own mind, and to guide you on how to reprogram those beliefs and patterns that keep you stagnant. All of this is aimed at empowering you to activate the law of attraction in its most genuine essence, no longer as a mere fantasy or a distant wish, but rather as a tangible, concrete reality in your daily life. This is the path to transcend old barriers and create a new destiny. The moment I finally grasped the fundamental reason why the law of attraction seemed inoperative in my life, everything transformed. This change wasn't due to an increase in the intensity of my visualizations, nor through exhaustive repetition of affirmations throughout the day, nor even a simple intensification of my faith. The crucial point was the discovery of a truth no one had revealed to me. The law of attraction doesn't react to your manifest desires or conscious petitions. It responds, primarily, to what you genuinely believe to be true about yourself, to your essential identity. This revelation, for me, was as profound an impact as a punch to the gut, completely reorienting my perspective. I verbalized the desire for prosperity, but deep within, the image that persisted was that of the young person who dropped out of school, who drifted from one occupation to another, devoid of any self-confidence and convinced that they would never reach a level of significance. The law of attraction wasn't, in fact, failing. What was happening was that I was emitting a vibrational frequency to the cosmos that clearly articulated, I am not worthy. Remember, the universe reacts to your essence, to your being, and not merely to your superficial requests. Now, reflect with me, on how many occasions have you set a goal, but in the core of your subconscious, in that silent space of your mind, felt that this achievement wasn't for you? How many times have you tried to cultivate positive thinking, while your body, your emotional reactions, and your habitual behaviors remained unaltered? It is for this reason that a significant number of people give up. Not because the law of attraction is a fallacy, but because the individual is unaware of the operating dynamics of their own paradigm. Scientific research has already demonstrated that a percentage exceeding 90% of our daily decisions are made automatically, guided by emotional systems and neural networks that operate beyond our conscious perception. How could one possibly expect innovative outcomes without modifying this automatic mode of operation? And at this point lies a crucial truth. It is absolutely impossible for someone to manifest a reality that transcends the perception they hold of themselves. This was the discernment that transformed my understanding. I only began to alter the course of my life the moment I changed the way I saw myself. It was then that I left the fire department and mustered the necessary courage to found my first cleaning business, a step taken without any prior experience, without specific training, and devoid of any logical justification that would lead me to believe in its success. Yet, an unprecedented inner strength whispered to me, "You are capable." And in that first year, despite being a novice in the field, despite being overwhelmed by fear, despite having no prior track record of success, I managed to achieve earnings exceeding $100,000. Such an accomplishment, for someone in my situation back then, was absolutely inconceivable and revolutionary. And here lies a perspective many overlook. Emotion possesses a vibrational frequency that resonates with far greater intensity than thought. If you vocalize, "I desire prosperity," but internally emit a vibration of scarcity, the universe will respond to the underlying vibration, not to the spoken phrase. Countless notable personalities have assimilated this truth on a profound level. A powerful example is Oprah Winfrey. She ascended from conditions of extreme adversity, but her self-image transformation preceded the metamorphosis of her external reality. she already nurtured within herself the identity of a competent person, of someone who deserved more, of someone destined to make a significant impact on the world, long before any fortune or notoriety manifested. The external change was merely the natural unfolding of her deep internal transformation. And if you observe with heightened attention, you will realize this is no mere coincidence. Research conducted by prestigious academic institutions such as Harvard and Yale consistently demonstrates that individuals who cultivate a higher self-perception have a significantly greater probability of realizing financial goals, experiencing lasting well-being, and maintaining unwavering motivation. This occurs because the brain's functioning is intrinsically directed to validate and confirm what you believe to be true about yourself. But the question that truly matters, that deserves your deepest attention, is this: what have you placed your belief in regarding yourself? What kind of energy have you been radiating? Even in moments when no one is observing, who is the person you truly believe yourself to be? Now, before we proceed to the next stage of this dialogue, I want to make an important request, an action that contributes immensely to the growth of the channel and allows me to continue providing deeply insightful content like this. If up to this point the discussion has resonated with you, if it is generating new understandings about your own life, I ask that you click the like button and subscribe to the channel. This might seem like a gesture of small relevance, but for the expansion of the channel, its impact is monumental. It is, literally, what makes it possible for these teachings to continue reaching an ever-increasing number of people who, just like you, urgently need this information. And now that you have assimilated that the law of attraction was not the obstacle, but rather the identity that limited you. In the subsequent section, my purpose is to detail how you can practically effect this change in your self-image, with a step-by-step guide, and how to apply these principles today, in everyday life, in the circumstances that most people face. When I became aware that my self-image functioned as a filter that distorted every one of my manifestation attempts, I needed to face an undeniable and sometimes painful truth. The reality I was experiencing was only compatible with who I believed myself to be, and not with the person I verbalized the desire to become. This is a common scenario for the vast majority of people today. And it is not about weakness, absence of talent, or lack of potential, but rather because they carry an identity forged by pain, by trials, and by old narratives that they incessantly repeat to themselves since childhood, creating an invisible prison. The question I formulated for myself, and that I ardently wish you to ask yourself at this instant, is direct, yet possesses immense transformative power. Am I conducting my life as the person I aspire to be, or as the person I genuinely believe I am? The answer to this inquiry is the key to freedom. Most of humanity navigates life on emotional autopilot. They awaken immersed in worries, go through the day dominated by anxiety, and fall asleep laden with insecurity. And it is precisely this emotional state that they offer to the universe, often without the slightest perception. How could one aspire to abundance while vibrating at the frequency of fear? How would it be possible to expect opportunities to arise while vibrating at the frequency of scarcity? How to build and maintain healthy relationships when emitting vibrations of doubt, guilt, and demand? Scientific investigation corroborates this reality with crystal clarity. Studies conducted over recent years unequivocally demonstrate that emotions such as gratitude, inner security, and a deep sense of deservingness provoke literal alterations in brain chemistry, resulting in a significant increase in dopamine and serotonin levels, neurochemicals that, in turn, amplify perception, stimulate motivation, and enhance decision-making. The law of attraction, therefore, has always been in perfect harmony with the science of the mind. It is not a mystical phenomenon. It is pure biological and psychological coherence in action. And here, to conclude, is a practical, direct, simple, and immediately applicable tip. If your goal is to reconfigure your reality, it is imperative that you consistently modify the internal signals you transmit to yourself, every single day, transforming your internal perception to transform your external world. You need to build a new version of yourself, totally aligned with your aspirations. How about illustrating this with a commonplace example? Imagine someone who aspires to obtain more financial resources, but whenever they check their bank statement, they are invaded by a sensation of tightness, irritation, and humiliation. This emotion establishes an unconscious pattern that directs trivial choices. The person avoids opportunities, hesitates to take risks, feels inferior, and, with that, ratifies the same situation they long to escape. Another situation, someone seeking a healthy romantic relationship. However, they carry past traumas, fear of rejection, and incessant comparison with others. Even if this person uses the principles of the law of attraction to manifest a partner, the paradigm, this set of convictions residing in the depths, will subvert the entire process. And it was exactly at this point that I experienced my great transformation. I began to behave as if I were already a prosperous person. It was not an attitude of presumption, it was a matter of identity. I started to act like someone who possessed a value far superior to what I imagined. My way of walking changed, my speech altered, my decisions took another course. In the beginning, the sensation was almost strange, as if I were playing a role that did not yet belong to me. However, the more I lived this way, the more my mind assimilated this new image. And when your mind accepts, the universe responds. I wish to propose a challenge to you here, something simple, yet with immense power. For the next 7 days, upon waking each morning, ask yourself, if I were already the person who enjoys the life I aspire to, how would I act today? Then, choose one action that represents this new identity. It can be something modest, organizing your space, making a decision you have been procrastinating, learning something new, communicating with greater confidence, improving your attire, sending a message you postponed due to insecurity. The crucial thing is not the magnitude of the action, it is the consistency. And before we proceed, I want to share a personal experience few know, but which was decisive for my understanding of self-image. Shortly after reading Think and Grow Rich, and deciding to start my cleaning company, I went to a commercial building to offer my services. I had never done anything similar. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel the beat in my own hands. Upon entering to speak with the manager, for a moment I considered giving up. My old mindset whispered, "You don't belong here." But a new voice inside me, a voice I barely recognized, said, "Go in." And I went in. I made that presentation with a trembling voice, but I did it. That client closed the deal with me. It was my first big opportunity. And there, before that open door, I understood that life transforms when you change, not before. Have you ever experienced this? That moment when everything inside you screams to retreat, but you feel the imperative need to move forward. Moments like these outline your destiny. Just cross a door, even if with fear. Now, breathe deeply. Because in the next section, I will show you how to harmonize vibration, identity, and action to activate the law of attraction in an undeniable way, applying it in current times, in the reality of someone who has obligations, responsibilities, fears, deadlines, and uncertainties. When I finally realized that my reality was a reflection of my identity, and not just of my desires, I understood something even deeper. You do not attract what you want, you attract what is familiar to you on an emotional level. And that absolutely changes everything. If abundance seems strange to you, if prosperity sounds distant, if confidence seems reserved for others, then your body, your mind, and your emotions will always bring you back to what is known, even if what is known is suffering, scarcity, or insecurity. This is precisely why so many people try to modify their entire lives, yet remain stuck in the same old reality. And here's the part almost no one truly grasps. The law of attraction isn't merely about asking and waiting. It's about vibrating, feeling, embodying, and acting as if you already live at the level you aspire to. But how do you make this happen in the real world? With bills to pay, invoices arriving, deep-seated fears, fresh doubts, incessant comparisons, and a relentless routine that never seems to slow down. Let's contextualize this with situations most people experience daily. Imagine someone who wants to increase their financial earnings but lives in fear of checking their bank statement. This person avoids their own money, avoids confronting it, avoids dealing with it. How can the universe grant more of what they emotionally reject? Or consider someone who aims to start an enterprise but fears criticism, judgment, and failure. This person spends months on end planning, studying, waiting for the ideal moment but never takes action. And while they wait, the universe waits with them. Because the universe responds to movement, not hesitation. Or perhaps someone who seeks love but invariably chooses individuals who reinforce their insecurities. This is because what feels emotionally familiar often seems more comfortable than what is truly healthy. The person claims, "I want a happy relationship," yet radiates abandonment, fear, and the expectation of pain. Guess what they attract? This is why I assert, life doesn't offer you what you crave, it offers you what you tolerate. And when you grow accustomed to the bare minimum, life echoes that minimum right back. Now, to effectively transform this vibration, you need 3 pillars, 3 internal shifts that, when harmonized, make the law of attraction practically inevitable. First, emotional clarity. It's not enough to know what you want. You need to know how you desire to feel. If you don't define the emotion you aspire to experience, your mind instantly reverts to the old emotions already familiar to you. Second, consistent identity. You don't become prosperous by receiving money. You become prosperous when you think, act, and decide like a prosperous person. Want a practical example? Most people expend energy trying to save pennies, while squandering opportunities that could generate hundreds of thousands of US dollars over the years. A person with a prosperous identity focuses on possibilities, not restrictions. Third, inspired action. Inspired action isn't acting out of desperation, fear, or obligation. It's acting from a high frequency, propelled by vision. When you act in an inspired way, doors open, people appear, coincidences happen. And it's not magic, it's emotional focus combined with movement. A notable example of someone who neglected these pillars and suffered the consequences is Mike Tyson. One of history's greatest athletes, yet he compromised his abundance due to the absence of a robust identity, a lack of emotional clarity, and insufficient internal development. He amassed colossal sums, values exceeding tens of millions of US dollars, and lost everything because his self-image never matched the magnitude of his fortune. He possessed money, but not the identity capable of sustaining that money. This happens with celebrities, entrepreneurs, athletes, and with ordinary people every single day. And there's a scientific explanation for this. Research indicates that approximately 80% of people who win substantial prizes, like in lotteries, lose everything within a period of less than 5 years. Why? Because their financial identity remains the same as before. They don't see themselves as individuals capable of maintaining prosperity. The brain tries to revert to what is emotionally familiar. Identity always prevails over circumstances. Now, I want you to reflect, what is emotionally familiar to you? What seems normal, even if it causes you harm? And why do you keep accepting it? If you change what is familiar to you, you transform what is possible. In the next section, I'll show you how to solidify this transition, how to apply the fundamentals of vibration, identity, and action to your routine, and how to use this to build a stable, abundant, and coherent life, even amidst the challenges most people face daily. When I understood that life would only change when I altered what was emotionally familiar to me, I realized I needed to consolidate this new identity so it would become permanent, not just an ephemeral enthusiasm. Because it's easy to feel motivated for a few days, the difficult part is sustaining a high vibration when the world seems to want to pull you back to the old pattern. And this is precisely where so many people fail without realizing it. They try to transform their lives but continue to live as their old selves. If your vibration drops daily, your reality follows suit. If your identity reverts to the previous pattern, your life regresses alongside it. If your actions lose coherence, your results dissipate. For this reason, I began to work on 3 elements daily, not sporadically, but as a ritual of internal building. And I want you to observe how to apply this in the real world, right now, in the life you have today, with the challenges you face, because I know you have responsibilities, fears, bills, insecurities, doubts, and moments of exhaustion. We all do. The first element is conscious observation. It involves noticing the recurrence of outdated thoughts. For example, wanting to progress in life, but with your salary, the thought arises, it won't be enough. Or, when faced with an opportunity, you think, this isn't for me. Such thoughts are not harmless, they represent a vibrational frequency that the universe deciphers with accuracy. With self-awareness, you recognize them and interrupt this old energy before it takes hold. The second point is instant emotional realignment. If you experience fear, insecurity, or uncertainty, don't resist. Just feel it. Breathe. Let it go. And then, insert a new emotion, something simple, like gratitude for progress, pride in the attempt, or confidence in a tomorrow that, though unseen, you choose to believe in. This small adjustment far surpasses empty declarations that change nothing. Science proves that minuscule daily emotional shifts reformat brain reactions, expanding your aptitude for choices aligned with a higher identity. The third aspect is consistency in minor actions. Grand achievements are sought after, but the small behaviors that shape daily energy are neglected. If you seek prosperity, take care of what you have now. If you desire opportunities, show up reliably in life. If you want improved relationships, communicate as someone worthy of respect. Consistency builds identity. Identity generates frequency. Frequency materializes reality. And to illustrate, I bring a striking case of someone who transformed their life by assimilating this precept, Jim Carrey. Before recognition, he wrote himself a check for $10 million, written out in words, destined for acting. He carried it daily, not as a fetish, but as a reminder of the essence he was building. Years later, he received that exact amount for a film role. This is no mere coincidence. It's the perfect synergy between energy, character, and action. And this is the truth that eternally liberated my perception: existence doesn't change through mere desires. It transforms when you define who you truly are. And that definition must be reaffirmed every single day. Now, I want to convey a solid principle that still guides me: your outcome never exceeds the narrative you tell yourself. If your story labels you as limited, broken, unfortunate, insignificant, your vibrational energy validates that. However, if it describes you as capable, deserving, skilled, on the rise, the cosmos will find ways to materialize it, even if you can't envision how. Therefore, I propose one final test: intense, clear, and transformative. Over the next 21 days, select 3 daily actions that embody the identity you aspire to live. 3. Not 10, not 20, just 3. For example, waking up 10 minutes earlier to visualize your desired life, acting immediately on small opportunities, without procrastination, managing your money with care and transparency, recording and monitoring everything, without fear, or deciding to communicate with yourself as someone of high value. 3 actions per day. For 21 days. With this consistency, your vibrational frequency transforms. Your essence changes. And when your essence changes, the law of attraction finally manifests. As these concepts operate within you, remember something I've always asserted: genuine change is born at the point where you choose not to revert to the previous pattern. And that point can be the present moment. I've observed for decades how a single insight, a unique epiphany, can ignite a light in someone's mind, an unquenchable light. Perhaps this message has ignited a light within you, or perhaps it can illuminate someone you deeply cherish. So, if something in this message resonated with you, share it with a special person. Not to conclude something, but to begin journeys. 4. By expanding your own consciousness and helping others do the same, you generate a wave of metamorphosis that vastly transcends your imagination. Follow me. There are vast possibilities for us to discover together.